Well, good morning, Nipsey. You getting warm? Hmm? How are you this morning? Well, as you can see, our little man's basking here, getting warm. He just woke up. But what we're actually going to talk about today is how to keep your bearded dragon warm at night. We're going to tell you what we think's the best way. I'm going to probably mention a few different ways that we've heard people use, but we'll also explain why we don't use them. And for anybody that does use anything that we do mention, it's not us knocking. This is just our opinion. But because we choose to mention them, I feel that it's only right that we explain why. So, stay tuned. Alright, the first one I'm mentioning for a reason, and that's because it shouldn't be considered at all. Okay, and that's heating pads. And because we're mentioning heating pads, I'll also throw in there those heating rocks, those electric heating rocks. They shouldn't be considered for bearded dragons. They're not meant for them. You know, I've heard a bunch of things about, bearded dragons and how they absorb heat. I've done not a whole bunch, but a fair share of research on it. I believe that I come to at least a little bit of an understanding. I guess I'll just touch on that since I did mention heating pads or heating rocks, and I have heard that some people do use them. And I know some people, there are heating pads and heating rocks that do come with thermostats on them, but after I explain a little bit about, what I've come to understand, I hope you understand why, even if it doesn't burn your beardie, it's still really just kind of useless. And like I said, this is just what I've come to understand. I'm not an expert. Now, it's not that bearded dragons can't feel heat on their little bellies. They can. But from what I understand, they aren't able to absorb heat through their bellies and use it the way that they need. Bearded dragons, they're cold-blooded, so they're ectothermic. Now, ectothermic means that they can't regulate temperatures throughout their body on their own. Therefore, they rely on the sun, where they can absorb its heat so they can regulate it when necessary. Now, the heat from the sun, it's absorbed through the top part, the scaly part of their bodies, not their underside. And really, bearded dragons shouldn't be on their backs anyway. You shouldn't be flipping them over or anything like that. And that's a whole nother topic. We'll get to that, another video. But because of this, even though they're able to actually feel the heat on their bellies, if it gets too hot, they're unable to sense it at first until it's really just too late and they burn themselves. So the potential is high for that, especially with a lot of those cheap heating pads that don't have any thermostat on it. But even if it doesn't burn them, they're not able to absorb it the way that it's useful for them. So what's the point? And actually that leads us to the point, that electric heating pads and even the heating rocks, they're not made for bearded dragons.
And that's all we got to say about that.
Now I'm going to move on to the red and the blue lights that people use. Now there's probably a good chance I'll hear a bunch of crap about the lights, because I know a lot of people use them. I know a lot of people recommend them. Some of the things I've heard is that they can't see the red light, the infrared light at night. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with the red light. Here's the thing about not being able to see the infrared light at night. We have our temperature gun. Our temperature gun here, it has an infrared light on it. Kind of like a laser pointer, you see? And Nipsey has clearly shown that he sees it. So, I'm calling BS on that one. Don't you like it when it's dark and there isn't a light shining in your face? Now, I'm not for sure about that, but I'm going to tell you that I'm under the belief that they can. Now, I've also heard that the infrared light can hurt their eyes, but I'm not really sure. But see, with all that, I understand now there to be a different option, so, that's what we go with, and we'll get to that here in a minute. I do want to touch on the blue lights, too. Now, I don't know much about blue lights. Now, the infrared lights seem to be suggested, I guess because of the fact that a lot of people believe that they can't see the light. But when it comes to the blue light, that more just seems novelty to me. When it comes to it just being for the reason that you want to see your tank and your bearded dragon at night and everything and it looks cool, that's to me not, who knows, maybe your dragon's fine with it and can sleep and everything. I just don't want to take the chance, especially when there's another option out there. And that moves us to what we use. Now what we use is this right here. It's a ceramic heat emitter. And what it does is it eliminates, you know, the light issue. It eliminates the underside issue, heating the underside for no reason. And it serves the primary purpose, which is to heat your dragon at night if your dragon needs it. So, it emits only heat, no light, boom. Boom. Now I will say too that, you know, unless your room drops below 60 or 65 degrees, it's not really too much of a concern. I do like to keep the temperature about 70 degrees. So with this bulb, it's even a little strong, but as you can see for his basking light, we have a stand here so we can raise it. So what we'll do is we'll usually put it on, he'll sleep over here in this corner for the most part. Lately he has been anyway. So we'll stick it, say, on this side and maybe raise it a little bit. And that'll keep his temps about 70 degrees. They don't need it real warm, they need their chill time. Like I had mentioned, you know, they store and regulate their heat as necessary, so they're okay when it's cold, and that's a natural thing for them. Not cold, but you know, when it's cooler. Isn't that right, baby? And I believe that that downtime, that cool time at night, helps with their energy throughout the day. Our little Nipsey here is far from a good example of that, but you know. Alright, we just wanted to touch on how to warm your bearded dragon at night, and if you were looking for the best way to do it, we wanted to share what we understood to be the best way, and why. Oh, and if you're wondering why we had this cage type of thing on the top here, because of our curious little cheddar man here. Now you know that's a no-no. So yeah, this is what we recommend as the best option. Ceramic heat emitter.
Say bye, Nips.
To stay up to date with our latest videos, make sure to subscribe to the Bedroom Beardies YouTube channel by clicking our logo now in the bottom right corner of this video. Thank you, you're awesome, and we greatly appreciate you. Blessings from us here at Bedroom Beardies.